minutes. Let's make a start. Welcome, everybody. We've got OMs on the call. We've got Ellerslie Old Girls. We've got St George's Society, some old staff, ex-parents, and we've got people joining from around the world. So whilst it's the evening here, I have no idea what time it is for you, but we are getting close to Christmas here. We've got one of the big trees on the triangle is all lit up like a Christmas tree. Those of you who live nearby will have no doubt spotted it. It shines very, very brightly, particularly if you're up on the beacon looking down. And it's great to welcome you here just for a few minutes to talk about the Malvernian Society, some of the history, but also some of the changes that have been taking place. And we're going to go through. Just to introduce people, I've got on the call with me Rob Breer. Rob is the COO of the Malvern College Corporation, but he's also been the Secretary of the Society over the last few years as well. Behind the scenes, we've got some of the rest of the Malvernian Society team. They've all turned their cameras off because they're very well behaved. But in case we get some tricky questions at the end, you never know, I might bring them in. My name is Keith Metcalfe. I'm the headmaster here and have been since 2019. And the Society has been a really important part of Malvern, clearly over the last century, or well, more than that. We're getting up to 160 years of Malvern's history. The Society didn't quite start at the beginning. And in a moment, I'm going to hand over to Rob, who's going to take us through some of that history and some of the recent changes. But the big important things for me, and this is where I think a lot of schools are very jealous of Malvern, the strength of the Society, particularly in working with its alumni and building up that engagement and those relationships, the sense of community, but also the benefits that brings with that the fundraising that we've been able to do. So there's a huge amount to talk about. Hopefully there's going to be some questions at the end once Rob's finished speaking. But before I hand over to Rob, just a little bit of housekeeping. Please, can you keep your cameras and mics off? This is being recorded, and so we'll be able to share it with anybody else who missed it. If you do have a question, there's a Q&A box, and on my screen it's at the top. It might be somewhere else on your screen, but please click on that. Write in your question, and then we will do our best to answer as many questions as we can today. We'll not go on for too long. We'll just answer the questions, as many as we've got, and then any that we don't have, please do follow up. Send an email in to melsoc@malverncollege.org.uk, and we will get back to you on anything that you have. So with no further ado, let's hand over to Rob, if that's all right, to talk us through a little bit about the Malvernian Society.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Keith, and a very good morning, afternoon or evening for those that have joined from all over the world. I'm going to take us through in two parts if technology is going to be kind. So let's just get that up first. There we go. Mr. Metcalfe, can I just check? Is that perfect? Wonderful. So I was going to go in three parts this evening. The first is just to have a very, very brief recap on the Society's history, past and present, and then we'll go through some of the challenges that have been raised by the recent government budget in autumn before going into where the future is going. And as the headmaster mentioned, we'll have the chance for questions at the end of the session. Now, I thought I'd start by taking us back nearly 160 years. So you're looking at a picture there of the college that was somewhere in the region of 5 to 10 years after the original founding in 1865. And at that point, there really was no Malvernian Society. And here I must say a big thank you to Paul Godsland, who pulled together a wonderful history of how the Society came to be. And actually, the starting piece was the Wanderers Football Club back then. That was really what brought the Malvernian community together, before then moving into being the OM Club in the 1880s. And then forming part of or merging into the Old Malvernian Society in 1895, which was really the start of the Society as we know it. Before then, ultimately becoming the Malvernian Society in 1926, when the organisation looked to become more sort of tax efficient by going into charitable status. And we'll go into that a little bit more in a moment. But what I also just want to draw your attention to is, as you look at this picture back then, and it doesn't quite give you the full sense of the site, there wasn't very much there on the site to start with. It was also a school that was started originally with limited levels of oversight. The sort of structures and systems that schools have to comply with today just simply didn't exist there. And the society and the clubs, as they came into formation over the decades following the founding, played an ever greater role in acting as a sort of checks and balances, working with the college operators and owners to make sure that the Malvernian experience was one that should be as it was. Now, that has then changed drastically over the years. And just to give you a sense of how the society has contributed to that, this just shows you that in the last 10 years, £15 million has been raised. And that's just the last 10 years, let alone the long history that the society has. And that has really enabled huge investments into the site. It's been the science block, the improvements and extension of the Rogers Theatre, about 2 million of bursarial support that's gone into each year supporting a very large number of pupils at the college. But also at the right-hand side, just in this year alone, we've completely redone the MEMLib building into becoming a sixth form centre, entirely funded by the generosity of the Malvernian community. And up at the top there, and rather lovelily, is the Grub, which has also just been completely refurbished into a new sort of cafe and co-working space, again funded by the generosity of the the Malvernian community. And I think it's wonderful because actually when the OM Club back in 1895 merged with the Malvernian Society, the first thing it did was gift a sum of money to build the Grub in the first place. So there's something rather sort of circular and wonderful that it ended up being the Malvernian Society again that has brought it back up to life, which has now been used enormously by both pupils and staff alike. So an enormous amount raised, an enormous amount on the site, and versus that picture I just showed from the 1870s, we've now grown into really quite a substantial site. There's 115 acres in total there, including the Firs estate that was built back in about 1924 to stop the encroachment of Malvern around the college, and extending off into the Court Road playing fields as well, and an enormous number of buildings. We are able and we are blessed with a phenomenal amount of space and facilities for the college pupils. But of course, it hasn't stopped there with the college. The other piece is that we now have the Downs Prep School as well. I mean, originally there was the Malvern College Prep School, the old Hillstone site, and that then merged into the Downs over in Colwall. And then, in fact, it was only very recently, back in 22, that we then merged the Downs fully into the college, and we are now one entity combined. But that gives us another sort of 28 acres and another set of facilities over on the other side of the hill. And again, it doesn't stop there because, of course, the Malvern College family has grown internationally. We now have schools in Egypt, two in mainland China, one in Hong Kong, and recently, back in 2023, we launched Malvern College Tokyo, that launched with 180 pupils, and this September has hit 300 or just under 300. So it really has been significant growth. And whilst we have sort of 650 pupils at the college, 200 at the Downs, there's actually nearly 4,500 in total that are experiencing a Malvern College education around the world. So the growth of Malvern College since those early beginnings has been enormous. But the other piece, just coming back to the society that's been critical, is with that growth, there's been a thriving community. And going back to some of the old documents that Paul Godsland had put together, I just saw a few statements. So in 1894, when the club, OM Club, and the society were coming to merge together, it talked about the purpose as being organising the past and present members of the school. It was all about that networking side that was going to happen. And again, across 1966 to 2006, there were quite a number of changes to the Articles of Association. But the key theme that came out that was written up was it was generally to maintain the connection of OMs with the school. And of course, later on that was to include the EOGs, the Ellerslie Old Girls as well. And that networking side amongst the Malvernian community, and nowadays we include past and present parents as well, and increasingly the international schools and the alumni that are coming out of there. That networking piece has been absolutely central to what the society is about, and in many ways links back to those early days of the Wanderers Football Club. And in fact, turning to that has sort of expanded now into 12 really rather brilliant clubs that form the sort of centerpiece of the Malvernian society, and which bring together old boys and girls, on a regular basis all over the country to participate in them. And that's something that we've gone to great lengths to support, both logistically and financially over the years. So just in summary, and forgive me, I'm sort of rattling through relatively quickly because we're keen to allow for questions. What has really changed over that period has been the size and scale of the college. So, we really have gone from only a few buildings and only a relatively low number of pupils up to a very large organisation with a global presence now. And underpinning that, 5 different legal entities that we're managing. And then, of course, the extremely extensive regulatory and compliance requirements that go with that. And I mentioned before about how the society initially in the very early days, in the sort of in the 1800s, 1900s, early 1900s, had played a sort of checks and balances role. These days, we have really very large and sometimes draconian organizations that make sure that we adhere to requirements. So the ISI, who look into particularly on the pastoral and academic and operational side. We've got the Charity Commission, who make sure that we are adhering to the charitable requirements, and of course Company House from a business and operational point of view as well. And that turns into the annual audits. I think we're all on tenterhooks at the moment, waiting for the ISI to inspect us at any moment now. And of course, the Charity Commission requires us to issue our annual reports in detail every year. And I do encourage you, if you're interested, to go and look at the college's website, because we do now have annual reports that provide enormous amounts of detail on what it is that we do. The other thing that's changed is for some time now, all of that work to make sure that the networking happens amongst the Malvernians and also the fundraising, all of that is actually managed by the college. So it's within the college teams, but we have made sure that their work is accountable also to the Malvernian Society through the board meetings of the Malvernian Society board. However, that is now needing to change. So as we look at the challenges that we face in the sector, and I think many of you will be well aware of what's happening out there with the changes to the approach to the independent sector from the Labour government. But the biggest one, of course, is VAT, which is coming in the 1st of January, and which will mean that 20% is applied to fees. And just to give you a sense of just how enormous a move that is, the most expensive boarding fees at the college will now be touching on £60,000. So this really does put us into a place where we have got to be absolutely on our A game, competitive, and delivering the top end of experience for all of our pupils and families. We've made a very clear decision that to enable that, we've got to invest behind growth, and that's looking to lots of different sources, from more pupils, more international schools, more fundraising and philanthropy, but we also need to look at different forms of financing within that as well. And that's become increasingly complicated with the separated ownership of the assets that society and the college own, given that some land and buildings is with the society and some with the college. So, for example, when approaching and talking to our banks, it is difficult for them to reach an agreement with one charity when another charity actually owns a number of the assets and therefore is completely separate. So that started to reduce some of the investments and financing options we've had. But also, when people look at investing in us, they look at our size and scale. And at the moment, they only see a sort of a split up group of balance sheets as opposed to one balance sheet of one organisation at size. The other piece that's important is with all of that growth and with so many different parts of the business now, there's a lot of governance and a lot of governance meetings. And just to give you an example, I think last year I personally attended about 65 board meetings and core committee meetings across all of the different entities. And that load has become quite significant. And we met with our auditor quite recently just to go through the findings of this year's audit. And the first comment he made about schools that will survive the current environment was that it is all about agility and making sure that our governance is effective and efficient and allows us to continue to be agile into the future. Now, just going back to the top of that slide, the big immediate threat as we've looked at the society has been the VAT legislation. And the big concern is that the society is being treated as a third-party payer for all of the bursarial support. And as such, would have to start paying 20% on the bursary fees that are paid to support individual pupils. So effectively, each donation is losing 20% of its value. To address this, we had to move incredibly quickly in the lead up to the 30th of October announcement by the government. And with that in mind, we made the decision collectively as the Malvernian Society board to move the investment and property assets across from the society into the college as a way of ensuring that the bursary amounts would not be subject to that 20% VAT. At the moment, there is an enormous lack of clarity in terms of the VAT legislation. And so we believe that that risk has been minimized by the actions that we take. And we'll know for sure as we go through the coming year and VAT audits and so on start to happen. But we're also conscious that some of the measures being taken by the government may not stop there. There may be in the future losses of other benefits, such as the introduction of capital gains tax, payment of stamp duty, corporation tax, areas like that. And we believe that by moving the investment and property assets into the college now, we are future-proofing against those being potential threats or restrictions on decisions we might want to make in the future. Now, all of this is behind the scenes and a technical change. It does not actually change any of the critical work on alumni engagement, clubs and fundraising under the society brand, nor does it change how we do our governance. And in fact, we believe this is an opportunity to strengthen that. And I just want to take you through the steps that we're taking along the way. So 5 sort of areas. The first is we are going to move to have an alumni representative on the college council. So that would be, when we talk about the council, these are trustees as recognised in law by the Charity Commission. And we believe that we need a council member who will keep an eye on making sure that that networking is being done as effectively as possible. But also we think there's an opportunity for them to chair the OM club. Those 12 clubs are doing well, but we want to grow them further. We want to bring in all of those upper sixth form pupils coming out. We want them all to take up the opportunity of being in the clubs, and the chair of the OM club would help us make that happen. The second is we've long had a fundraising council trustee. It's been Christine Fairchild up till now, who also looks after or has just retired from looking after all the alumni for Oxford University. And we're in the process of appointing a new person to take up that role following Christine's retirement over a really fantastic long period of service. But that really does make sure that we're keeping an eye on the development side of what we're doing and bring in the skills we need to keep driving the philanthropic side. The third is that we already have a foundation and property committee. And at the moment, this is jointly made up of trustees from the society and from the college. And this is made up of experts in investment, in fund management, and also in property and property law. And we plan to absolutely keep that foundation and property committee in place. They will continue to ensure that the endowment funds that are held by Saracen and Partners or managed by Saracen and Partners get the best possible returns. So whilst the name over the funds will change from the society to the college, the actual oversight of those funds and the application of them to support bursaries in the college will remain entirely unchanged. The fourth is that the Malvernian Society brand will absolutely firmly continue to remain in place. And we are utterly committed to not only continuing but enhancing the alumni activities that we're doing. We've invested in growing the team and transforming a lot of the activities we do online with communications, offline with events. And that's something we see as critical as part of the offer that the college brings. We are able to tell new pupils coming in that this is the network that they will join for life. And these are the achievements of that network. And that's something we really want to protect and maintain. And then lastly, underneath all of that, the team that is quite extensive, that manages both the Malvernian engagement and the fundraising, that will not change. That will continue to report up through the college, through ultimately into the headmaster as it does today, and will continue to be responsible for making sure the Malvernian Society work continues as it is. So hopefully, in summary, what that'll show is that most things will stay the same, but the legal side that sits underneath it will change to allow us to be more VAT efficient, more tax efficient going forward. We think it gives the chance through council and by being, as the chairman of the society would say, even more hand in glove between the society and the college, a chance to strengthen that engagement, but also critically from a governance and financing and fundraising point of view, it will give us greater agility and efficiency going forward. Now, there are details to be wrapped up. We were put under considerable time pressure by the government budget back in October, and we are aware that there are steps to be taken to make all this happen and ensure that those who already have donations through standing orders, direct debits, legacies, these things have to be protected and looked after. And as such, we're not taking any steps to change any of that quite yet. We're looking to work through those plans over the course of the coming academic year, and we expect to present some updates on that in the March AGM, to which, of course, the OM members, the society members, are all very welcome to attend and ask questions. But as I said, the headmaster said earlier, if you do have questions in the meantime, we've got the opportunity now, but also please do feel free to send those in by email. The team is always very happy to respond to those, and if they need to be answered by the headmaster or myself, we'd be very, very happy to help on that front. So hopefully, Mr. Headmaster, I've stuck to time, but that just gives me, hopefully gives you a bit of an overview, and I'd be very delighted to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Rob. You didn't quite stick to time, but you've done pretty well. You've got through a huge amount there in a short period of time. But yes, good opportunity to ask any questions. If you can do that, please, using the Q&A button by typing in a question. Then that'll ping up on our screens, and we can I can apportion that. I can either answer it or hand it to Rob, I promise I won't surprise any of the team to do anything. They may follow things up in the pipe. I can see somebody's got their hand up. I think if you've got your hand up, could you put if you've got a question, could you put it in the question box, and then it's just easier for us to do it that way. So, here's the first one. Thank you very much. Are donations other than bursaries likely to be viable for VAT? Rob?
The answer is we do not expect that to be the case. So the issue that's at hand here is that VAT is being applied to the tuition fees, and that's the issue when a bursary is interpreted, or financial assistance is interpreted, as a third-party payer paying those fees, just as if it were an uncle or a grandparent, and that's when VAT gets applied. So donations to building projects that we have in our master plan, those would not be liable to VAT at this point, although with the way things are, who knows what might happen in the future. If it were to be the society, I should add.
Great, thank you. And a quick question about the AGM date. People want to put this in their diary. I think the date for that is the Saturday, the 22nd of March. So please do put that in the diary. We're calling that now the commemoration weekend. So the school was founded in the spring term, the Lent term of 1865, and we've slightly separated out what was speech day and prize giving and put that very pupil focused event right at the end of the summer term. So we end the year with a bang, and we've moved commemoration and made that really a celebration of all things Malvernian. And the day starts with the best part of the day, the AGM. Then we do a service in chapel, get any OMs who come back to the AGM back into chapel, and to celebrate that beautiful building as the heart of the school. And then we normally finish off with a bit of a lunch. And then the afternoon is full of OM clubs playing matches against the pupils. So it's a really good weekend. So if in doubt, 22nd of March, put it in the diary. Right, there's another question. Can we have an event? We do loads of events. There's all sorts going on. Yes, we need a bit more details as to when that is. What are the next events coming up, Rob? Do you have an idea of there's a range of house events coming up? I've just talked about Commem. What's the next one on our radar?
I was actually going to transfer to see if put Susie on the spot. Susie, are you able to unmute from mute and talk?
Yes, I can. So we've actually got up to about 20 events next year. So after commemoration, we go into the girls at number 3 are having a bit of reunion of 30 years of girls at number 3. We've got a 50-year reunion in May. We've got St. George Society tea party in the summer. We've got a patrons cricket lunch in the summer. Number 9 and number 5 have their reunions. We've got more professional networking on the horizon as well. And we've got an events page on the website. So if people go to our website and look at the events page, we're updating that now.
Great. Thank you very much. Rob, you mentioned mentioned new council members. How will those be selected or nominated? How does the process work?
We would absolutely welcome anybody who's interested in involved in any governance in the college to get in touch, and you can use the email address that Keith mentioned before, or just get in touch through the college and ask for me. In my role as clerk to council and secretary to the society, we're always on the lookout for people that want to help, so please do get in touch on that front.
Okay, and a good question here about yep, sorry.
Sorry, yes, there was one other one I just wanted to answer, which was just to confirm that in the movement of all endowment fund and property assets across to the college, any restrictions that were historically put in place by donations in terms of how they wanted their donation to be spent, those will all be honoured and are legally enshrined in that transfer. So everything that was previously gifted with a requirement attached to it, all of that will continue to be honoured.
Okay, there's a good question here about estimate of impact on pupil numbers in September 25 across the UK schools. We are certainly looking very, very closely at all of our data, looking at our inquiries and trying to work that through. Inquiries, if anything, are up both at the college, but also the prep school. What we are struggling to work out is has the conversion rate stayed the same or has that changed? Because you can imagine the pipeline, it can be strong, but depending upon that conversion rate, it becomes harder. Is there any more on that, Rob? You work closely with the marketing and missions team as well?
Yes, I mean, I think this is probably one of the biggest questions that everybody's asking themselves at this point in time. The numbers vary enormously depending on the measures that you look at. Across the sector, I think people are talking more in the sort of 5 to 12% region, something along those lines. But ultimately, for the independent schools, a lot of this is going to come down to market share and who can win market share. We've done our own analyses, and we fundamentally think that, provided we invest and ensure the quality of our product, we can maintain our pupil numbers. And certainly at the moment, we're looking at really fantastic inquiry numbers for September, actually probably more so than we were expecting. The key will be conversion, but it has been great to see that we are holding at the moment at the same level, if not better, on inquiries across the college and the Downs.
Thank you. We've got lots of questions coming in. Quick one on VAT. People are suggesting good ideas. Could fees be restructured as donations or long-term loans to the school to optimise around the VAT? I suspect the government, they've been incredibly clever over the whole process. Any loopholes, they've been very quick to shut down. I suspect there's nothing there, is there, Rob, on that option?
No, I mean, I think you've already said it. I mean, I have to say, so we've probably been preparing for this for not far shy of 18 months. And we've asked, the community has been wonderful in recommending just about every conceivable option. But unfortunately, it has been very, very clear that every single loophole as it's arisen has been closed down very, very fast. So I'm afraid that isn't an option. And the government have been remarkably good at making sure that no one escapes this, even if ultimately the VAT legislation is still very, very messy as they're learning themselves how to apply it in education for the first time.
Okay, I think we've got time for a couple more. I understand that VAT paid on building costs incurred over the last 10 years can be recovered. Is this true?
So the way that the VAT can be recovered is it's a tenth of it on every year going back for the last 4 years, and we will pick up some of that benefit over the coming years as we work through those tenths. But the real gain is the fact that we've got really quite a strong master plan coming up. Over historical years, in the more recent years, there hasn't been an enormous amount of capex as we've gone through things like COVID and then the hugely high periods of inflation and uncertainty with utilities. We've been a little bit cautious on our capital expenditure, so there's been a limited amount to reclaim there, but it really is making a huge difference to the future master plan that we have, and does allow us to significantly reduce the costs of construction over the coming years.
Good, thank you. Good comment here. Somebody, one of our OMs, I think he's probably an OM, advises HMRC and disability in UK through the DWP. We need a key programme for growth. Great, we might come back to you on that one. But what are Malvern College doing to embrace disability and neurodiversity to ensure we embrace talent? Well, that's a really important point, and I think what is good about education and what we are able to do here at Malvern is embrace that. Malvern has always been very good at looking at the individual and what can we do to find a pathway for them. If you look at our website, it's all about individual pathways. How can we help them plot that right direction? So yes, we are really up on that. I think increasingly we are recognizing that pupils have got greater neurodiversity and there's real superpowers linked to those. So it is something that we are continuing to work with. It's probably too much for this conversation now, but please do come back to us and we can follow that at another point in time. As I was answering that, I could hear it pinging in some more. Are there any good ones you've seen on there, Chris? Rob, you like to answer?
No, I think I was just literally trying to go through myself. I think we're pretty much on top of it. I mean, I answered the question about loss of pupils and it going to the state sector, and I think that I think I probably answered that in full. I think that is probably one of the biggest questions now is the state sector's ability to absorb all those pupils going across. And I do think it's interesting that the government has slightly changed their narrative on just how much upside they will receive from the VAT. But the truth of the matter is, for us, we've sort of moved beyond the rights and wrongs of it and into just fundamentally focus on delivering the excellent offer for the pupils, because that's what will safeguard Malvern College, is making sure that people want to come and join us because it is just such a fantastic experience.
Yeah, and just to repeat the numbers on the college, we're just over 650, and at the Downs we're close to 200. We've had a really good opening of a nursery there this September, which is full. Our issue actually is supplying the number of staff because the demand for that is so great. So there's lots of positive at the moment, but obviously VAT only comes in January. I think we're gonna finish there. I can still hear pings coming up. Things are still coming in. That's great. We will pick up any of those questions, and please do send in any more questions that you have. One of the things that we're determined to do, I mean, engagement is a key part of Susie's role, I know, with the OMs, and I hope you're enjoying the newsletters, the amount of information that's coming out through those. We've done a few webinars over the last term or two, a little bit about some of what we're doing in the college, so about the master plan, about the estate, and a little bit about catering. What we'll do is when we send the link out for this, we'll also send the links out for those webinars. You can find out more about those other things. It's really important that you can get the information that you want, because we want you to support us and we'd love to support you too. So really important to do that. Thank you very much for joining us all this evening. Thank you very much to the team for helping set it up. And we look forward to seeing you on college or on the screen at the next available opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.